It's a perfect situation.
As you can see, I've been doing some more harvesting. I've got, say, a couple of pounds of red currants here, and I'm going to wash these off and then freeze them and deal with them at a later date when it isn't so hot. I have also gone through and picked some kale, which I'm going to wash off and then dehydrate. Right, I do this in several stages. All that kale I have washed in just cold water, and that's all. What I do now is I put it on this tea towel to drain a bit, although it doesn't really matter because it's going back in some vinegar water. I've got water in there and vinegar. But what I'm going to do first is cut out all these thick stems because I don't want them. And I'm going to make the stems into eggs by feeding them to the chickens. So all I do is cut either side, and then that stem goes to the chickens. The leafy parts go in my water, my vinegar water, and I just go through them like this. Yes, I could use a smaller knife, but I prefer these knives. They're brilliant. While I'm cutting them as well, I'm checking the backs of them to make sure that no cabbage whites have laid their eggs on them, because I've seen cabbage white butterflies outside flying around. Hopefully they've just gone to the nasturtiums because they prefer nasturtiums. So me growing nasturtium plants means I can use them if I can get at them before the butterflies, but I can eat the flowers. They cost nothing because once you've bought the seeds, that's it, they propagate themselves. And cabbage white butterflies prefer nasturtiums to any other brassicas. So me sprout plants, broccoli, I've yet to do me sprouted broccoli, and your kale, they don't particularly like. If they've got the choice, they'll take the nasturtiums. If they haven't, they'll lay on the kale. So they're a sacrificial plant. So we just go through and let them soak. So we're just going through them and let them soak in this vinegar water, and that will help to get in because they're very curly around the edges, so that will help a bit more. So I'll get on and finish these and then show you what I do next. Now the kale has had 10 minutes drying time, I'm just tossing it around because it does seem to hold on to the water in all these little nooks and crannies. So let's move it back on there. I still put these mats on even though they won't fall through. A few bits will do, so this helps prevent that. So I'm just going to load on here. I might pull them apart, I might not, whichever, because you can't really dehydrate too much, but you can dehydrate too little. which means that if you put it in your jar, it'll spoil because it's not fully dehydrated, and you've lost all that food. So I'm going to see how many trays I get, and I'll be doing this throughout the next few months, do a few trays at a time until I've got quite a bit of it, because I like putting it into stews and soups. I don't powder it down until I want it powdered, because this sometimes I just put the whole bits in soups and stews and that. Sometimes I'll put it in as a powder, or I'll use it as a powder on the top of quiche plans that I make, because it looks really nice. And especially in winter, to have what looks like fresh green food is really nice. Now, you want to keep your trays as far apart as possible. Oh, but on the floor goes to chickens. Keep your trays as far apart as possible. If, like me, you've got them that they stack on one another, just make sure it's at the high setting, because they are quite bunchy. If you've got the cabinet style dehydrator, try taking out in between so you've got more room to go around. You don't have to make sure that they don't touch or anything like that, because they do shrink when they're going, but it means that they've got a bit more air. And the mats, which is not bad, it's near enough free food, because yes, it cost me £1 for the seeds, but those seeds will do this year, next year. I might have to get some for the year after, but you can have it fresh, dehydrated, never frozen kale. So there is my dehydrator. Now let's get the lid. Put your lid on, turn it on. It's at 50 degrees, it always comes on at 50 degrees Celsius. And I'm going to put it on about 52, which is about 125 Fahrenheit, I think. And I'm going to let it go until they're done. If they aren't quite done by tonight, just before I go to bed, then I will lower it down to 50 degrees and keep it like that overnight, and they'll be done by the morning. I lost the end footage for when I dehydrated some more kale, so now I've dehydrated more from the garden, but in the meantime I've got a different dehydrator. But this is exactly the same as when it would come off my old dehydrator or yours. It's just very crumbly. Now I'm not going to bother powder this because I'm doing quite a bit of it, so I'm just going to push it all down into a pint jar, because I have got some on my shelf already, and when I know that it's perfectly fine and there's no moisture or anything in there, I will put the two together and put them in a larger jar. So I'll carry on doing all of them and show you what it's like afterwards. So I'll push them down. I'm not powdering them, but I'll push them down. So 6 trays has got me that amount. So what I'm going to do now is leave them in the jars, not seal them, vacuum seal them or anything. And for about a week I'll shake them, make sure that they're not sticking together, there's no moisture in there, and if after a week's time I'm all right, then I put them both together in a litre size jar and put them on my shelves for the winter storage, because that's what I'm doing now. I am collecting things together for my winter stores, because as I've told you before, I don't go shopping between end of November, beginning December and about March. So I am gathering together my winter stores. Thank you. Bye.
It's a perfect